Big thanks to Trade Coffee for sponsoring this video.
Hey, what's up? Today I'm gonna show you guys how to make two very good tasting breakfast sandwiches. One of them takes 4 minutes and the other takes way longer than that. It's fully from scratch and just a little bit chefed up. Either one you choose, they're super fun and totally worth your time.
For the first sandwich, we're gonna need a bun, specifically a very squishy one like this French style brioche that I got at the grocery store. Now, this comes together super fast. I'm gonna preheat a non-stick pan over medium-low heat, and once that's hot, into the pan goes a little drizzle of the cooking oil of your choice, then in goes that bun cut side down. I like to toast these pretty hard. I usually take them past the point of that light golden to a more dark golden to make sure that I get a little crispness and textural contrast on the inside of the sandwich. And these look good. I'm gonna take them out, and next goes in just a little bit more oil. Make sure that this pan isn't much hotter than, say, a medium low, and then in goes one large egg. A strong pinch of salt goes on that egg, then some black pepper, and I'm gonna continue to fry this on that first side for about 30 seconds or so. From there, we're gonna poke that yolk so that it breaks, and then we're gonna flip over the egg and fry it on the other side for another 20 to 30 seconds. I'm also gonna add a slice of American cheese on the back side because when this stuff melts, it's gonna team up with that yolk to create a dual sauce experience for this sandwich, and that is dope. Let's build one. Down goes that toasted brioche, then the cheesy egg thing that we just made, and give it a smush. That's a home run breakfast in my house. Basically egg on a roll, as they call it in New York. But if you want to make this absolutely psycho, layer on 3 slices of very thinly sliced, basically shaved smoked ham, and look at this thing. No one is above this. It's melty and gooey, it's salty and a little sweet, and oh yeah, it's very soft with just a little bit of crispness in the middle. It's sick.
This is an amazing tool to have in your toolkit. If you wake up at 8 o'clock, you could be eating this by 8:04, theoretically. And for the amount of time spent for how good it is, it's pretty unbelievable. There's very few other foods that you can make that taste this good in 4 minutes. This could be the best tasting breakfast sandwich. We're gonna find out. We're gonna try and make one fully from scratch in just a minute, and we'll see how it stacks up.
To make a pro level bad boy breakfast sandwich, of course, we need to make an English muffin from scratch. To do that, into a medium bowl goes 140 grams of warm water, 2 grams of instant yeast, 10 grams of olive oil. Melted butter would also work very well here if you're interested in using that. Behind that goes 90 grams of ripe sourdough starter, but poolish will also work. I'll put instructions for making both down in the description. The sourdough starter here was ripened for 24 hours on my counter leading up to this, so it's super sour, boozy, and mature, and it's really only here for flavor. The instant yeast is going to do most of the lift here in leavening this bread. Behind that starter goes 250 grams of all-purpose flour and then 4 grams of salt. Now to mix this into a dough, in goes a sturdy spoon, and I'm going to stir everything up to combine until things get a little bit clumpy and dry like this. From there, I'm going to come back with a very wet hand and squeeze to finish this mix. The water on the hand, by the way, keeps the dough from getting all stuck up in your fingers. After about a minute of squeezing this into a relatively homogenous mess, we can call it mixed. Now the lid goes on, I'm going to let it rise here on the counter for 30 minutes. In the meantime, we need to sort out the breakfast meat for this sandwich, and for me, the best option is a hand-pattied maple sage breakfast sausage. To make that into a bowl goes 450 grams or roughly 1 pound of fatty ground pork, 8 grams of salt, 4 grams of black pepper, 1 gram of dried thyme, 5 grams of minced garlic, 5 grams of grated fresh ginger, 2 grams of chopped fresh sage, 5 grams of apple cider vinegar, and a very healthy glug of maple syrup, like 15 to 20 grams. Now, with a gloved up hand, I'm gonna get in there and not only mix this to combine, but also work the proteins in the meat to make sure things are getting a little bit sticky. This is gonna help maintain that patty shape later on when we go to sear it, and it's gonna bring a little bit more bite to the sausage. And if you're wondering, hey Bri, do I really need to make my own breakfast sausage? And the answer is not really. Almost all of the brands at the grocery store taste really good to me. They have a lot of tasty pork fat and they're well seasoned. Just make sure that you go for bulk instead of the pre-made patties like these. After the pork and seasonings have been brought together and the meat is just a little bit tacky from being worked, now we can call it sausage. To get this sausage sandwich ready, we're gonna smash them into little patties, just like we would for a smashed hamburger. Onto some parchment, I'm gonna weigh out 4 ounces of this sausage per patty, or about 115 grams, give or take. Then I'm gonna top it with another piece of parchment and then grab something wide and flat and then give it a smash. Getting these patties flat like a smash burger is gonna give us something that cooks super fast and has a lot of surface area for caramelization. Once this whole pound of pork is smashed up into 4 patties, I'm gonna throw these into the fridge, then take a quick second to thank the sponsor of this video, Trade Coffee. Trade delivers freshly roasted coffee from the best growers and roasters in the country right to your door. The way it works is simple. You take a short quiz about what you do and do not like in your cup of coffee, and from there, Trade matches you with coffee from small batch roasters that you're gonna love. The beans are roasted and then shipped within 24 hours of your ordering, and now there's 3 bags of coffee on the front stoop of my house, in compostable bags no less. From there, you rate the coffees that Trade matched you with so that you can repeat the ones that you like or try something new. 2 of the 3 bags that I got are actually decaffeinated coffees because I've been on again, off again with caffeine for a while now, and it's awesome that Trade can cater to decaf guys like me. This one in particular is from a local roaster here in St. Louis called Blueprint Coffee, and I actually know the people who run Blueprint pretty well through working with them in the restaurant business here in town, and they're all super knowledgeable and passionate about their product, and it's really great to see them partner with Trade. So to give Trade a try, click the link in my description, take the quiz, and get your first bag of coffee for free. That's going to come with free shipping and a guarantee that if you don't like your first bag, they will send you a different one. That's a good deal. Thank you, Trade, for sponsoring this video. Back at the English muffins, it's been about 30 minutes since we mixed this dough. Now it's gonna be time to build in some strength by, you guessed it, doing some folding. That's gonna be a grip, pull out to meet resistance, and then fold it back over 4 times all the way around the dough. Then I'm gonna come back and tuck in the corners, then roll it over to turn this into a nice taut little ball. I know I've shown you guys a lot of stretch and fold on this channel, but it is a really important part of making a proper hand mixed dough. That looks good. The lid goes on, and we're gonna come back in 30 minutes to repeat the exact same maneuver. We're gonna pull this out till we meet resistance, fold it back 4 times, and then fold in the corners, and then roll and tuck it into a nice taut little ball. The lid goes back on, and we're gonna check back in 60 more minutes. After that 60 minutes, or 2 total hours of fermentation time here on the counter, this dough has just about doubled, and it's all gassed up. To shape these into muffins, we're gonna flour the dough, then the board, spread that out, and then flip out the dough. Now I'm gonna grab my scale and then cut this dough down into 6 75-gram size pieces. 6 is a good number of muffins. We've got 4 to match up with the sausage patties that we just made, and then the other 2 will go in the freezer for future breakfast sessions. Now, once this dough's cut up, I'm gonna grab a little sheet tray and then hit that liberally with cornmeal. From there, I'm gonna grab one of these dough pieces, give it a quick fold, and then flip it over to roll it up. Just like I would if these were potato rolls or dinner rolls, I'm gonna use the tips of my fingers and my thumb to stretch the skin of the dough and then tuck it up under itself to create some tension and a closed little seam. Once it's rolled up, I'm gonna move it over into the cornmeal and then roll up the other 5. Once all 6 are in the corn, now we're gonna come back, drag them around in the corn a little bit more, and then flip them over. A lot of this cornmeal is gonna fall off when we cook them and move them around, so we want to go heavy now to make sure that some of that cornmeal is still stuck to the outside and we get some nice toasty corn flavor in the final bite. Now I'm going to cover these with another sheet tray and let them proof up here on my cutting board for 60 to 75 minutes. 60 minutes later, these muffins are well proofed up and ready for the oven. When I poke them, you can see that they indent just a little bit and then they slowly bounce back. That's a proper proof. Next, we got to fry these up. For that, I've got a heavy bottom cast iron pan here that I'm going to be preheating over medium-high heat. I'm using ghee or clarified butter because it brings amazing flavor and it won't burn over high heat, but any regular cooking oil like a light olive or soybean will also work really well. I've got about a 1/4 cup or 60 grams of this stuff going in here to get preheated, and once that's starting to shimmer, in goes the first 3 of my proofed up English muffins. And you'll notice that the fat should come up the sides about a 1/4 of an inch. That's going to give us a really nice crispy fried crown on the top and bottom of these English muffins. After about 1.5 to 2 minutes of frying, these should be nice and golden on that first side. So I'm going to flip them over and then continue to fry these on the second side for another 2 minutes or so. If the fat in your pan starts to smoke a little bit like this, that's a good sign that you want to turn this pan down. If it's too hot, these muffins are going to get darker much faster than we'd like. So knock that heat back down to, like, let's call it medium heat. Once these are all crisped up and fried on the second side, we're going to transfer all 3 of these over to a wire rack on a sheet tray and then dump out the fat. From there, I'm going to wipe out the pan, hit it with a fresh slick of clarified butter, and then in goes the second round of muffins. I'm going to fry those up for about 3 to 4 minutes and then move them over to the wire rack with the rest of their English buddies. Now to finish cooking here, we're going to move this sheet tray into a preheated 350F or 176C oven and bake it for 12 minutes. After that 12 minutes, I'm going to pull these out of the oven and cool them down. Now is a good time to appreciate how pretty a handmade English muffin can be. They're glossy from being all fried up in that butter, they're well caramelized around the edges, and they smell boozy from that ripe sourdough starter, and they're just a little bit sweet from that cornmeal. Now to get onto the sandwich, I'm going to preheat my non-stick pan over medium-high heat, and into that goes a generous squeeze of neutral oil. Then in goes one of my pre-smashed sausage patties, and I'm going to press that into the pan to make sure that there's maximum surface to sausage contact. From there, I'm going to fry this pretty hard on this first side. I like to come back with a spatula and give it a really proper smash, just like we would for a burger patty. That's going to take about 90 seconds or so, and once we've got some nice color on that first side, I'm going to come back, flip it over, and continue to cook it on the back side for about 30 seconds. While that cooks on the back side, I'm going to add a thick slice of an aged cheddar on top. I did try American cheese on this sandwich. That's usually my go-to, and it was just too gooey with everything else going on. So I decided to go with a cheese that had some age and personality to it. Once that cheddar is just a little bit melty and the sausage on the far side has got just a little bit of a sear on it, we're gonna scoop it out of the pan. The heat on the pan is gonna get turned down to low, and in goes a little bit more oil, then 1 egg white. What in the hell, Bri? This is a silly but fun way to make a sunny side up egg that I learned from another chef here in town. You basically separate the yolk and the white. You cook just the white for like 15 to 20 seconds, and then over low heat, you add the yolk right in the middle. Separating the two gives you a more set up, less snotty egg white, and then also you get the yolk in the dead center, and it's just more picturesque that way, I guess. It's very silly and not very practical, but it does look cool. Once this has been cooking for about 60 seconds, a little bit of water goes into the pan. That's going to create some steam, and then I'm going to throw a lid on it to capture that steam and finish cooking this egg. After about 60 more seconds, I'm going to come back and poke that yolk to see how it's set up, and that feels good. Now I'm going to move this out of the pan, and finally I'm going to make a breakfast sandwich. So to do that, I'm going to cut an English muffin in half down the middle. This looks really good on the inside. Now I'm going to throw this onto a sheet tray and toast it under the broiler for about 30 seconds. Feel free to use a conventional toaster if you don't have a broiler. Now to build this, the muffin goes down, and then that sausage and cheese setup that we just made. I kept this hot while I was cooking my egg under some foil off to the side. Next comes our sunny side up egg that we just made, but if you don't want to go through the trouble, just go with a fried egg, or even go with the McDonald's style egg patty. To do that, basically put a ring mold in a non-stick pan, a little bit of oil goes in there, and then you crack 1 egg. From there, you're going to poke the yolk to break it up, add a little salt, and then you're going to add some water to the pan to create steam, and then a lid. It takes about maybe 90 to 120 seconds to fully cook this egg patty all the way through. And if you did your job right, you should have that kind of middle ground texture in terms of like gelled egg yolk right in the middle. That can be a really fun thing to have on an egg sandwich if you don't want a runny yolk. Once that egg is set up on the sandwich, now we're gonna add a little secret combo of hot honey and hot sauce to bring a little bit of contrast to the sandwich. That's 25 grams of hot sauce and 25 grams of hot honey stirred together to combine, and I'm gonna put this all over the top bun and then drizzle a bunch all over the egg. This is gonna bring some sweet heat and a little bit of acidity from that hot sauce, and that's just plain fun right there, you guys. Now to finish this, of course, we're gonna use that top muffin to give this yolk a little smash and release that sauce all over everything. Think of this, Sammy, the next time you've got a fancy pitcher of Bloody Marys mixed up and you want to treat yourself to a really nice weekend brunch. It's going to be a good time. Let's eat this thing.